Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 3. Get ready for expert analysis and rising wrestling stars. Now here we go with your host, Ken Judge.
Welcome back, everyone. My name's Ken, and I'm here on Ken's Corner, and I got a very special guest tonight. My friend, professional wrestler, all the way from Florida, Bobby Bonecrusher. How are you today, sir?
I am doing great. It is great. It is as hot as can be, but you know what? We're going to have some fun.
I agree with that. Now, we're just going to go back in your career, and let's tell the public and wrestling fans why you decided way back when, or whenever it was that you started, why did you decide to become a professional wrestler?
So I was 2 years old. I was 2 or 3. It was at the Ocala Highlight. My mom used to take us to the wrestling matches. So the highlight was that sport that they would take the ball and they would hit it against the wall. Well, you can pack a big house in there. So we wound up going to the match, and I was always a little chunky kid. Mm-hmm. And here comes this guy, Dusty Rhodes. Well, there's a little backstory because I believe my mother and Joe LeDuc, we know who Joe LeDuc was, were very good friends. And I don't know any more than that, but I do know they talked all the time. And he took us backstage. Dusty actually took me to the ring. And from then on, it was wrestling matches, and I was hooked.
That's amazing. So let's talk about when you started training, Bobby. Who was your trainer, and how was that for you your early beginnings on becoming a wrestler?
So 10 years prior, I had seen Dory a bunch of times, Dory Funk Jr. I'd seen him in Publix walking around. I was always mesmerized, and he gave me his cell phone. So we talked for it was his home phone at the time. We probably talked for 45 minutes about wrestling, and he told me, he said, Bobby, you need something to fall back on in case this doesn't work out. I said, oh, great. So I became a truck driver. Mm-hmm. So I become a truck driver, 1998, 99. They were doing these fantasy camps. Then it became Dory's Wrestling School, and that was at 2 Year Help Spa in Ocala, Florida. And it was in a racquetball court. And then from then on, I was hooked. I got hurt my first day in the ring. So we didn't even know if I was going to even do it again. But we had fun. I recouped, came back, hurt the other shoulder. And I've only had one more injury after that. And that's since 1999. God willing, no more injuries, none tomorrow night. So we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to speak about that in a couple of seconds. And let's tell the podcast world out there, the fans watching us here today, why it is that you reached out to Ken's Corner and asked for an interview to come on here and talk about what's going on in your life lately. We do know someone in common. Let's talk about Colonel Brute and Canadian Giant and what the heck is going on there, Bobby?
We go back a long time. We go back to the E1W days. I was one of the forefathers with Colonel. We were pretty good friends, trying to help him get into it. And then slowly but surely, I got to see the other side of him, more of a darker side. And the Giant and I were not friends at all. And we really, really ramped up against him. We told him he had what was it called? He had giant disease, and we'd gone on podcast. I mean, we made up all these stories, and then little by little, Colonel just started. He just turned. He just completely. He became somebody that I didn't know anymore. And the guy's smart. The guy's a genius. And I really liked him at one time, but when you get to meet somebody and you get to see exactly how they really are and how they really operate, you don't want to be part of that no more. No matter how much money he gave me, and no matter how much money he said he gave me, or all this stuff. A lot of it was lies, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I have been hired by E1W to
Yeah.
do some reporting for them, and I'm just a Canadian connection because I'm a proud Canadian up here in Toronto, Canada,
Nothing
and
wrong with that.
I want to bring the word from both sides. So I don't know if that's why you hired me, but that's what I'm here to do. Let's talk about your match coming up against the Canadian. Well, let's talk about the Canadian Giant a little bit. What is your feelings on this whole Canadian turn to the Giant from who he was as American Giant?
Well, everybody, and that's what's beautiful about both countries. We have that kind of freedom. He may have felt that Americans weren't behind him enough. The fans weren't behind him. But that's not what happened. The almighty dollar is what got him. So the almighty dollar grabbed him, and he changed his name. And you know what? Someone was like, everything they wanted me like to go out there. Number one, I'll never bash Canada because that's my sister country. That's how I look at it. Other people may not, but you guys literally are right above us. And if anybody ever tried to hurt Canada, we're right there. Never would let anything happen to Canada. I actually trained a few days at the dungeon in Calgary, so I got a chance to meet Bruce Hart, Bret Hart, Stu Hart before he passed away. But that's another subject. But as far as him making that change, hey, listen, I've got no problem with it. If that's what he wants to do and that's where he wants to move up to, so be it. But the beef between him and I don't care what country he wants to say he's from. If he wants to say he's from India, if he wants to say he's from Pakistan, he can say whatever he wants. I know where I'm from and where I'm staying, and that's what he needs to focus on. So you did ask me a question on why I wanted to come to Ken's Corner. Number one, when you think about podcasts and you go on, you watch people who interview people, I just don't go around and let anybody interview me. I'm going to have somebody as like you do that knows the business and knows how to talk and knows how to answer the right questions.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. That's much respect from us up here in Canada. And you speak of Calgary, and I did actually crack a smile because other than Toronto, Calgary is known as my second home. So I have lots of love for the people of Calgary and the Hart Foundation. They're Canadian legends. So it's amazing that you brought that up. Thank you very much. Now, I want to know my next question. I only have a couple more for you. Why did you accept this match in Ocala on the 15th of June?
Ocala is my hometown. The building I've been in and I've wrestled many a times. The Giant and I have had a story that we haven't had a chance to finish. We did wrestle about 6 years ago in Inverness, Florida, where I was living at the time. But Ocala is my hometown. This is where we had Fox 51 and we had television. And at one time we could go to the mall. Everybody knew us. I mean, it wasn't like we were super popular, but you'd go to the store, you'd be sitting out to eat and somebody wanted an autograph. And I was always very open with my fans. They want to autograph a little kid because I remember being that little kid. For the most part of my career, most people cheered, but I've had them boo too.
That's great. My next question for you, Bobby. Where can your adoring fans find Bobby? If they haven't already, let us know your YouTube channel, any other social media outlets that the fans can look you up on.
Well, you can always go to @Bones2Crush, which I guess you call the title would be Bone Crushers Let's Talk About It Smith. You could always go there. You can go to Facebook, should be Robert Bone Crusher Smith. You can find me on there. And those are pretty much the two platforms I stay on. I do a little music reactions. I do a little kind of like I call it the driving podcast. So I'll do that as I'm driving. I'll do a little food reviews, joking around about what this and that. I try to have fun with everybody and and kind of opened my mind to the different styles of music. And I really haven't done a lot of wrestling stuff, but I'm getting ready to do that too.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the podcast. It is coming to the end, but this is where you can leave anything that you wanted to leave here on Ken's Corner. Any last thoughts on anything wrestling related, Bobby?
Thoughts. My only thought right now is pinning the Giant, shutting Colonel Brood up, and looking on to my next opponent. It's not going to be an easy task. I know that. This guy's 7'4". With my boots on, I'm 6'4". I have a foot disadvantage. I also have Brood on the outside, and I've got Tank on the outside. So it's been a mental game, not so much a physical, but it's going to get physical.
I appreciate that, and I wish you all the best of luck. And I'll be watching from up here in Toronto, Canada, and keeping an eye on Bobby Bonecrusher Smith. Thank you so much. My name is Ken, and I'm here on Ken's Corner with professional wrestler from Florida, Bobby Bonecrusher Smith. Thank you so much, sir.
Very welcome. I got better things to do, people to see, and bones to crush.